Hello YouTube, it is your boy B3 back with another kicking movie reaction review. Today we are doing the next film in the OG Universal Invisible Man series, The Invisible Woman from 1940. Now instead of being sci-fi horror, this one is sci-fi comedy. I knew it would be before I watched it because the poster for it, like everyone's making silly faces on the poster and stuff, and there's like a little image of the Invisible Woman kicking a guy in the rump. So I was like, this is going to be a comedy? Weird. Yeah, no horror elements in it whatsoever. Not a single bit. And it's also really long. It's like over double the length of the original Invisible Man. It's 2 hours and 33 minutes, apparently. Yikes. I usually don't like to watch movies over an hour 30. It's 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb, 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, 89% of Google users liked the movie. Initial release December 27th, 1940, directed by A. Edward Sutherland. The film series is Universal Horror. The box office was around 660,000 and adapted from The Invisible Man, somehow, very loosely. You got a cast here: Virginia Bruce as Kitty Carroll, John Barrymore, pretty recognizable name, as Professor Gibbs, Charlie Ruggs as George, Oscar Homolka as Blackie Cole. He's called Blackie because of his hair. He's a white guy, I promise. Margaret Hamilton as Mrs. Jackson. Shemp Howard, yes, the Shemp Howard from the Three Stooges, plays Frankie, one of the gangsters, and Donald McBride plays Foghorn, another one of the gangsters. So, quick read-up. A screwy professor's experiments with a gorgeous model attracts the attentions of a gangster and a handsome millionaire. So, this millionaire playboy, who's like constantly being sued by women, he goes broke. And the professor that he's been financing all these years, who appears to even actually live on his property, right? He's like, I can make you rich again because I can make people invisible. And a woman who hates her job and stuff volunteers for the experiment. She's a model with a horrible, horrible boss. She was 2 minutes late, had never been late before, and he docked her an hour's pay. And he fires women if they get sick. Like, it's, oof, geez, like a nightmare. So then, we got her, and she volunteers for the experiment. She does go invisible, but instead of staying to prove it to the millionaire, she runs off and kind of pulls pranks on her boss, and she's like, I'm your conscience, treat your employees better, and he does reform and stuff. Decides to start paying him salary instead of time clock, and he gives him a tea time in the afternoon, and they can take sick days and all this stuff. So then she returns, and they make her invisible again because it wears off after a few hours. And this effect is different. Like, it's a serum, not the same serum as the last film. In fact, this doesn't even appear to be in continuity with the last two films, because people in this movie feel like the idea of an invisible person is ridiculous, when the idea of invisible people was common knowledge after the events of the first film and throughout the events of the second film. Actually, it was common knowledge through half of the first film. And it's insane because, like, so I guess it's not in continuity because it's a different formula with different powers, and you also have to use like a machine to activate the formula. So that's that. And then they're proving it to her, and she gets drunk, and it turns out alcohol reacts with the invisibility and like makes it stronger or something, so it lasts longer, which is recycled, I feel like, in Wolf Cop. I don't know if Wolf Cop saw, I don't know if the creators of Wolf Cop saw the Invisible Woman, but it's kind of like Wolf Cop in that world. Werewolves become stronger when they drink alcohol. It's pretty funny. So she does that, and then she eventually gets visible again. But while she's invisible, she and the millionaire fall in love, and he kind of falls for her without seeing her. And it's like, oh, it's not just for her looks. He's falling in love with her. But it's also implied throughout, while she's invisible, that if she isn't attractive when she turns visible, he won't be interested anymore. Which is, yeah. And the film is also obsessed with her being naked, because, like in the other films, if you wear clothes, then you can be clearly seen. So she has to be naked to be fully invisible. So the characters are constantly obsessed with how naked she is, and it's like they won't let the audience forget this is a naked woman on screen, sort of. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. So yeah, there are these gangsters that actually kidnap the professor and the invisible woman because they want the professor to make their leader invisible because he's in Mexico and he can't get back into the States because as soon as he tries to cross the border, he will be recognized and arrested. And he's really homesick. And so he doesn't actually want the machine and stuff to commit high crimes like robbery and murder. He wants it so that he can just get back home. And his gangsters are all buffoons, of course. Kind of everyone in this movie is an idiot. If not, like, intellectually, then socially. Like, everyone in this film is kind of stupid. And it's just whatever. But, yeah, they do that, and then they get married after they're rescued. They actually don't have to rescue her. She's not a damsel in distress. She defeats the gangsters all on her own, but they're also all really incompetent. Which is fun. But then she gets married to the millionaire. I don't know if they patent the invisible thing and sell it and he becomes a millionaire again, or if they just become regular Moes. I doubt that because they still have the butler at the end of the film. Yeah, there's this butler. And they have a baby, and they put rubbing alcohol in the baby, and the baby turns invisible. Yeah, and that's actually how she beats the gangsters in the end. She sees like 100% alcohol on the lab table, which if you drank it would turn you blind at best and kill you. But apparently with the formula in her system, she can drink that, and she does and turns invisible again. So she can't have alcohol for the rest of her life because she'll turn invisible. And they put rubbing alcohol in the baby, and he turned invisible. Which I totally called. They actually cut from the first time he tells her he loves her immediately to they've just had a baby. And it's like, she has no baby fat at all. It's insane. So, yeah, another thing that I thought was funny is, like, in the first Invisible Man, the Invisible Man was like, oh, we have to make sure to wipe my feet and get the dirt out from under my fingernails, because all of that can be seen while I'm invisible. But when this woman goes invisible, like, her makeup goes invisible and her nail polish goes invisible. She also, like, when she turns visible again, her hair looks great, her makeup still looks great, and it's like, no. So I guess this doesn't have the same rules as the first Invisible Man, or they just don't care as much because they're 3 films in. But it didn't feel like a sequel to the last one, and I don't think it was. I do believe it is a different continuity, simply because they have no reference for an invisible person existing before. That being said, this movie is too long. It's got so much time that's just like slapstick gags that don't add anything to the story. And I'm not saying every joke has to push the story forward, of course not. But, like, there are just these long kind of sequences of just comedy that doesn't add anything to the film. The film's kind of sexist. Of course it is. It's actually less sexist than many films from the time because she is like the hero in the end. She's the hero. They go to rescue her and they can't do it. And she beats them by herself. So in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. Because the film obviously mostly sees her as a sexual object, obviously. But they also make her very capable. It's very strange, you know? Maybe it's multiple writers bringing different things to the table with that. I don't know. I really don't. But yeah, this movie's too long. I would have preferred a horror movie. I feel like it's only a comedy because the invisible person is a woman. And I'm dead serious. I feel like they were like, oh, woman can't be fucking scary, so let's just make it a comedy. Despite having, films like Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula's Daughter. I don't remember what years those came out, so I can't say if they were before or after this. But yeah, it's not a bad film. It's not a bad film, but it's in the Universal Horror series despite not being a horror film, and that's pretty stupid. That's pretty stupid. Like, if you're gonna put it in a horror film box set, like, I don't know. This probably isn't one I'll rewatch a bunch, to be completely honest. The first two I could rewatch over and over and over again, but the Invisible Woman, 1940... Yeah, if you really like old 40s comedies, you'll probably really, really like this film, but I feel like I didn't like this film for a lot of the reasons that people didn't like the 2017 Power Rangers movie. Because a lot of people walked into the 2017 Power Rangers expecting an action movie, and they got a coming-of-age drama. I actually walked into this expecting a comedy, but when I bought it, I expected horror. Don't know why it's in a horror box set. I don't know. If it was a horror comedy, that would make more sense. That would be completely fine, but it's not. It's just a comedy. Not that I don't like comedies, but yeah. Good film, just not for me. So, that's it for The Invisible Woman 1940. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below. Facebook, Twitter, etc. And I'll see you all next time.